Gas prices. Where do I begin? Um, is it Putin's fault? Is it the war in Ukraine? Is it Biden's fault? There's a little bit of everything on the table. Um, is the president responsible for gas prices? Yes and no. Absolutely yes and no. Um, for example, no. When it comes to inflation, which directly affects gas prices, it affects your dollar because inflation decreases the value of your dollar, and it also brings prices up. So has a price. It is a good provided by a resource that is scarce, oil. Um, because of its scarcity, uh, you have to pay for it. It doesn't come free, right? And as I explained before, inflation is 100% the effect of monetary policy, which is not up to the president. So, in that fact, no, because inflation is Congress and the central bank's fault, right? Um, yes, absolutely, he has uh, uh, a part of this. Absolutely, all presidents do. All presidents do have a hand in oil and gas prices. Why? How? Okay. Oil is a global resource, right? Resources are scarce. Oil produces gas, which is a good, right? A global good. Um, the United States is located on the globe, right? Um, we participate in the global market, and oil and gas is part of the whole global market, right? Now, the president has a lot of influence, not a lot of power, as I said before. In some cases, though, foreign policy is 110% the president. The president has authority and last say in foreign policy. All presidents, it's not by just Biden. All presidents, their power, a lot of their power lies within foreign policy, and within foreign policy, you have macroeconomics, right? And within trading with other countries, and in and you have tariffs and sanctions. I know you've heard those words in the past few months, even though they try to make you forget it. Tariffs and sanctions, and you got trades, treaties. All this affects prices, right? Um, Now we also have we not only have taxes, regulations, foreign policy. Obviously, as you know, most of our it can't you can't blame Putin for all our oil prices because only about 10% comes from Russia, right? Most of our oil comes from Canada and Mexico, right? We just came out of a pandemic. During the pandemic, they wanted all of us to stay home, correct? We all had to stay home. Everybody had to quarantine, lockdowns, and when that happens, the law of demand is inescapable, right? In economics, the law of demand is inescapable. Basically, if the demand is high, the prices will rise. If the demand is low, prices will go down. So with no one driving, and even insurance companies have to give some money back. So if if no one is driving, then and gas isn't being bought, and they don't need to produce as much. Therefore, they must shut down to cut costs. And to cut costs, everyone has to stay home. You have to lay off people. You have to stop producing as much because now the demand isn't so high. Um, Biden definitely had a huge hand in locking the country down, as well as Trump did. Um, but the difference was that Trump was in the meat of the pandemic, and Biden and Democrats expanded the pandemic past what was the actual pandemic. They extended it uh, to get their agenda across. Because as Democrats famously say, always take advantage of a disaster, right? I think Hillary Clinton famously or Rahm Emanuel things said that, and it's the Democratic way. So you have to take advantage of a crisis. So they went and they extended the pandemic. Blue state bailouts, New York, California, all these places that were basically broke. They cut checks to while they printed the money, and they cut us like a tiny piece of it, right? In this form of stimmies. Um, well, you going back to the president again. I gotta go kind of off from that. Again, he's in charge of foreign policy. So being in charge of foreign policy directly affects the gas prices, right? Um, you gotta remember when he shut down Keystone first day, Keystone pipeline first day, pipeline from here to Canada. Um, he's they tried to pass the Green New Deal, Democrats. Everything's about changing to alternative gas. That us trying to get off gas, right? Cuts the law of demand, stops the lowers the demand, and then they have to supply less to cut their costs. Otherwise, they don't make a profit. Um, so in the end, as we pursue the more environmental, because also foreign policy is environmental regulations, raise up gas prices. So the more greener you want to get, the higher gas prices is going to be, right? That's how they tell you go buy a Tesla. Basically, if all those people, all those regular folk, right, that 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 can't that are struggling to get by, that can barely. Some people can't even. Most people are buying cars they can't even afford. Oh, you know what? Go get a Tesla, right? $40,000 easy. Luxury car comes to some classes, right? If you want to go greener, that costs more, right? To come off oil, because we have the supply. Now remember, as the pandemic is, we started opening up. Now the supply goes up. What happens? Prices go up, right? The demand goes up. They have to produce more. They have to hire more people to do it. They need more machinery, more hours. That cost more. So then they have to compensate for that price. And you got places like California that have high gas taxes. They're paying about almost $9 now in gas. You got Philly and some places $6 almost. Um, the demand goes up, the price will go up. There's only a limited supply of gas. It's not unlimited. Big thing they don't talk about is, again, with the Keystone Pipeline, we were on the way to independence, right? All independence. That was cut off by the agenda. We don't want that. We want to be part of the global. We want to be part of the global stage. How in the left they view their politics are view them in their politics they view themselves as global citizens, and as global citizens, right? We need to get with the Paris Climate Accord, which is worth nothing. Uh, the World Trade Organization. they want to participate. They want to be part of the world. But for the most part, until World War II, isolationists. Um, we 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 Americans usually prefer concentrating. Foreign policy, yes, is one of the most least popular topics in politics. And so, if you're wondering is the president, does the president affect gas prices? The answer is yes and no. Mostly yes, he does. But there are other factors. Absolutely, yes, we affect it. Congress affects it. The market affects it. But yes, the president definitely has influence and power when it comes to gas prices.